we want to discuss the idea of an inverse. So our objective is, I understand the idea of an inverse. To capture what the idea of an inverse is, you have to understand that an inverse, the key idea behind it is that it will undo what the original thing will do to something. So undo it is the key concept. So to give some practical types of insights to it, these are inverse ideas, is that if we have a snowstorm coming down, snow coming down on the driveway, so you have a clean driveway and then it snows, fills the driveway, the thing that will undo that is a snow blower. Snow blower will clear off the driveway, put it back to the original way it was without snow on it. Similarly, if we have a sink where the sink is filled with water, the thing that will undo that is if I pull the plug, put the plug on the side, that will drain the water out and will return the sink to the way it originally was. So it's the inverse idea of it. We can do that with numbers also. So some are fairly typical and types of operations that we understand will undo each other. For instance, if I add 5 and then subtract 5. So if I take f of 6 here, that's 6 plus 5, that equals 11. And I take that answer to when I did f of 6, that 11, and I put it into the other function, and I take g of 11. Notice 11 minus 5 here gives me my original number, and I finish with what I started with. The second function undid the first. That makes them inverses of each other. Now this isn't proving that they're inverses, it just kind of demonstrates it. So this next one with squaring and square root, if I'm dealing with positive numbers, as an example, I'll take 3, and if I put 3 into h of x and take h of 3 and square it, I get 9. And I take that result and put it into the j function and take j of 9. That means take the square root of 9, and that ends up with the original 3. So I finish where I started with the same number. That's the inverse idea of undoing what the first function did and gives me the original number back by using the second function. So that's what we call an inverse type of idea. So this is also an inverse function. This one might not be quite as obvious. These two we understand, and things like multiplying and dividing will undo each other. We understand those ideas. These two, we can get some more complicated, not only functions, but other functions we'll discover later through graphing and things. This one, if I take 10 and I take t of 10, I put that into the function, I get 10 plus 6 over 2. That gives me 16 over 2, which is just an 8. Take that 8 and substitute it into the r function, so r of 8. That gives me 2 times 8 minus 6. That's 16 minus 6. That gives me a 10. So notice I end up with the number that I started with. That function undid what that function did. They actually are inverse functions. So at a later time, we'll study more and more functions that undo each other, inverse functions. We'll look at what happens with their graph and how to show even algebraically that one function is the inverse of the other.